Hello and welcome to the 30k channel. I'm your host David Brains, and Alistair and I are back for game 5 of Harvest on the Black Sands.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a lot of painting, but yeah, we've made it.
It's been a hard slog. I've been desperate to paint my Mechanicum or finish them for a very, very long time, and I finally had the impetus to do it. So thank you, Alistair.
No, well, thank you very much as well. Like, I've never painted an army this quickly before in my life, so yeah, it's been, they say quickly, it's taken me nearly a year to get to this point, but it's quick for me.
That's good.
So yeah, that's been good.
So what have you added for game 5?
Cool, so in this game, I've added, some of the squads have kind of swapped roles, so who were veterans in the last few games have now forgotten everything that they've learned.
All that knowledge.
And have just become normal tactical marines. So some the squads have grown with a couple of guys. I've painted up the Imperial Space Marine.
Cool.
We'll see in a bit more detail later.
Yeah.
And there's a squad of veterans. The Venator and the Lightning are brand new as well.
Great.
So they've added in to get up to 2,500.
Some serious firepower in those two units.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, my White Scars army, the Venator and the Lightning are kind of very much the workhorses in terms of killing tanks. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to use them on Sons of Horus as well. And
Alice has got 2 tank killers, and all of a sudden I've brought a ton of tanks. So that's brilliant news. Thanks.
No worries, man.
So I already had the Cryos painted in the last battle, which you saw, game 4. But I've pushed on with the Trios, or Trioros, depending on how you want to pronounce it, to keep the Thallax safe. And then I've also brought 2 Kraknos tanks and painted those up. I'm not sure how they're going to go. This is their first outing.
All right. But by sheer coincidence, this is my 2 big anti-tank units' first outing, so it will be a bit of a clash of the newbies.
It's funny, isn't it, that the Mechanicum packs a lot of anti-tank weaponry, but I really struggled against, as you saw in the previous games, about dealing with high-volume troops. So, 10-man tacticals, really struggled peeling them out. So hopefully the Kraknos with their barrage will come in. They've got 3 little blast markers, flashbane. Hopefully they'll help, but they're only AP 4 or 5, so they're they're not really doing much against.
And as we know, the difference between AP 4 and 5 is quite big.
It is.
I have to issue an apology, really. I don't know where I got the idea that Volkite were AP 4 from.
No, I don't.
I've looked through all of the black books. I've looked through every piece of heresy rules I've ever owned. They've never been AP 4. So that is entirely on me.
There you go. Might have cost me a game, but we're still smiling. The thing is, though, I've never seen or taken part in a heresy game where one rule isn't forgotten.
Yeah.
Sure, some are major than others, but there's so much to remember. You're caught up in the heat of battle.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're rolling dice, you've got guys on the sideline talking to you, you're excited.
Desperate to win, so you cheat relentlessly.
That's right. So, I think it's fair to say most games, even games of Monopoly or card games have an error, don't they?
Yeah.
So if you're the banker when you play Monopoly and you give yourself an extra 100,
absolutely, yeah, that's exactly. You just forgot the rules. Just taken money out the cash tin.
$400 for pass and go, right?
Yeah.
So let's remind ourselves very quickly about what happened in the last game. The Psychers were shot down after being transported out of game 3 on the Thunderhawk gunship. They were shot down by the Sons of Horus, I remember.
Yeah. So the Sons of Horus shot them down. No, the Mechanicum shot them down because the Sons of Horus got away.
We did, that's right, I can't remember our own game. So we shot them down to intercept the things. The Mechanicum grabbed hold of a Psyker at 1 game 4, which is great.
So it's nice for you to feel like what that felt like.
Yes, it's a nice feeling. I am losing at the moment. I think it's 1 game to 3.
Yes.
So I need to win the next 2 to level it off. So we'll have to see how that goes. But the Psychers are gone now. They've been killed or they've been taken off to the facilities, wherever they're going with. Yeah. We're done with Psychers now. And we're done with custom missions. So what have we got in planned?
Absolutely. So as David said, the kind of first 4 missions that we've done have all been kind of custom missions. So that's been really cool. We really had a good sense of narrative. But what we wanted to show at 2,500 points, which is the standard points level, is a more standard heresy game of, this is a book mission, which we'll go through in a minute, but we're playing out of the book. kind of a fairly standard heresy game, just so that kind of is demonstrated.
Yeah. So we're going straight for War of Lies, which is a little bit contentious because you can work so hard during the game, and then when you get those minus or plus D3 rolls at the end of the game, it's a bit of a tense moment.
Absolutely,
particularly if you've played your heart out. So
it's all about risk management, really, isn't it? I think it's a fantastic. It's my favourite mission.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's so up and down. It's really good fun. And we're playing Dawn of War as well. So we've decided that we've expended so many men, munitions and fuel on this campaign. We now need to rearm and refuel. And conveniently, there's a refueling point somewhere in the Black Sands, which we've both come across at the same time. And we are now battling over that refueling station. And then the third game, I think we'll try and bring the narrative back in a little bit, do something with that a little bit more exciting. Yeah. And then finish off the big finale. Yeah, something kind of spectacular, because we'll be getting to 3,000 points, and I've got a very nasty tank that is currently sat on my painting desk. So I'm sure you'll look forward to that. Yeah, I don't want to face that. But being toughness 5. Yeah, being toughness 5 and having a Typhon staring you down is not going to be fun. The only thing I have to add to the Mechanicum is more Thallax. So this will be my list. Maybe a couple more tanks, maybe 3 more tanks and some more Thallax. What are you going to look at for 3 roughly? Is it the Typhon? Pretty much just the Typhon, and I think I get 3 more veterans, and that's it. So yeah, it's about 400 odd points for the Typhon. So that'll be quite interesting to see how that goes. I'm not a fan of Typhons, but they are a very cool tank. Just put that in there. Let's get on with it. I'm really excited to get this one going. I haven't played a game in quite a while, so it's really cool to get going. I have no idea how it's going to go. I need to get rid of that Venator. It's going to cause me some pain. Well, I kind of need to get rid of your Venators as well. And you've got definitely more than I have. But yeah, no, I think it'll be a really interesting game, actually, because obviously, as you say, got a lot of armour. I've, in theory, got a lot of anti-armour. Yeah. But then again, Heresy is all about play the mission, win the game. And so if I spend all my time trying to kill your tanks and you win the game with Thallax, which again, I've always really struggled to deal with. It's a kind of bit of a yin and yang kind of thing. I think it's going to be an exciting game. Let's get onto the list and we'll see it turn 1. Absolutely. Oh, he stuck that in. I don't know why I did that. 2,500 points of Sons of Horus using the Long March Rite of War. The Traitor will lead the force and has the Coordinated Assault Warlord trait, allowing him and units within 12 inches to re-roll hits rolls of 1 within the assault phase. The Sons are led by a Praetor with a bolt pistol, a mastercrafted paragon blade, melter bombs, digital lasers, and an iron halo. First elite's choice is a unit of 5 Justerian Terminators. They have 3 power fists, 2 chain fists, and a multi-melter. Second elite's choice for the Sons is a unit of 7 veteran Space Marines. They are armed with 2 combi weapons, one of which is on the Sergeant, and a plasma gun. The Sergeant also has a power fist. They're transported in a Rhino, and that Rhino has a dozer blade. Final elite's choice is a Talon of 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts. They're both identical. Both of them are armed with a Kerry's Assault Cannon and a Dreadnought Chain Fist with an inbuilt Graviton gun. There are 2 troops choices in the Sons of Horus army. Both are nearly identical tactical squads. Both contain 10 tactical marines, and both have a Rhino with a dozer blade. However, the difference is that one Sergeant has a power fist and the other Sergeant has a power weapon and melter bombs. Opening the fast attack choices for the Sons is 3 land speeders. These are all identical. On top they have a pintle mounted Volkite Culverin, and below a hull mounted heavy bolter. Second fast attack choice is a Primaris Lightning Strike Fighter. The Lightning is armed with 4 Kraken Penetrator heavy missiles, battle servitor control, and ground tracking auguries. First heavy support choice is a Sakaran Venator Tank Destroyer. It's armed with a dozer blade and armoured ceramite. And concluding things for the Sons of Horus is the final heavy support choice, a Spartan Assault Tank. It's armed with armoured ceramite and a dozer blade. 2,500 points of Ordo Reductor Mechanicum. The army is led by an Arch Magos Reductor. The army's warlord trait is Perfected Targeting. Leading the Mechanicum is an Arch Magos Reductor. He's equipped with melter bombs, a melter gun, has the Jin Sky ability, a Cyber Familiar, and 2 Cyber Ocularis. The first and second troops choices are identical, and they consist of 7 Thallax equipped with 2 photon thrusters, 7 melter bombs, and they have been upgraded to take the Destructor special rule, which gives them tank hunters. The third troops choice is a squad consisting of 6 Thallax, again equipped with melter bombs, the Destructor special rule, but this unit is carrying 2 multi-melters. One of the Thallax cohorts with photon thrusters and the other Thallax cohort with multi-melters will be transported into battle in a Triaris armoured conveyor. They're equipped with 2 Volkite Sentinels, a Mauler bolt cannon, and they have both been upgraded to have the Blessed Auto Simulacra special rule. The first heavy support choice for the Auto Reductor army is a squadron of 2 Cryos Venator battle tank. They're equipped with a Pulsar Fusil and Blessed Auto Simulacra. The second heavy support choice is exactly the same as the first, but it's just on its own. Because the army is running Auto Reductor, it allows the army to take an additional heavy support slot. So this means heavy support slot 3 and 4 are taken up by 2 Kraknos assault tanks. They're equipped with a Kraknos mortar battery, 2 Lightning Blaster Sentinels, a flare shield, shock ram, and a searchlight. They've also been upgraded to take the Blessed Auto Simulacra. Alistair, we're deployed.
We are.
Red versus green, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Complementing colours.
Yes, but not complementing each other.
No, they're not. Sworn enemies, you could say. Really interesting setup. The Mechanicum is spread across the width of the board.
Yep.
The Sons of Horus are clustered around 2 large line of sight blockers.
Yep. I was just hiding from all of that in case he sees the initiative.
I'm trying to force multiple fronts on that Spartan if I can, and trying to split the Sons of Horus off.
Yeah, really, it looks very intimidating from this side, I've got to say.
Now, Alistair won the roll-off to deploy first, go first, which he elected to do. However, the Mechanicum are desperate for a siege because we really want some shots off in the first game to try and cripple the Sons of Horus. A lot of the Mechanicum forces are in transports.
Yep, same with the Sons of Horus.
Your flyers off.
Yep, the speeders and the flyers off. So the flyer has to be off, and I feel with the speeders they'll be more useful later in the game. So I kind of don't want them on just to die from all of this nastiness in turn 1. Yeah,
I must admit I am a little bit worried about the speeders. They can come on the side, get some really good side shots. They're fast, they're high strength, they can just strip vehicles off with a couple of 6s. So we'll see what happens. Alistair, good luck to you.
Good luck as well.
Indeed. Let's have a seize.
Got your most weighted dice.
I have. I've been licking one side repeatedly. Let's have a look.
All that licking wasn't worth it.
It was close. I rolled a 4.
So Sons of Horus, turn 1. Sons of Horus, turn 1 movement phase. Not much has happened in this movement phase. On the left-hand side, the Spartans pushed up a little bit, and the Venators swung round. What they're both trying to do is kill some of those Venators. I really need to remove some of the firepower from the Mechanicum to relieve some pressure on my army so I can spread out a little bit. The Rhino's kind of hiding behind those 2 as well. Over on the right-hand flank, both Contemptors are pushed up. One of them is in range of the Thallax to fire with its Keres, which will be fantastic, and hopefully take some wounds off some of them. And the 2 Rhinos are really hunkered down. Perhaps I should have put them in reserve, but they're on the table now, so we'll see what happens. Absolutely incredible start to the game. The Spartan opened up with all of its guns into the 2 Venators in front of it and managed to kill both of them. Really turned around after rolling 3 1s in its initial hit roll, but thankfully, due to Twin Link, was able to turn those into hits. A really great start. Hopefully it continues. Second shot of the game came from the Venator, really hoping to mimic the success of the Spartan. Got 2 hits with its laser destroyer, which was fantastic. However, neither of them convert into any hull points on the Venator, so slightly less good, but I can't really complain. Finally, concluding the shooting phase for the Sons of Horus turn 1, both Contemptors. One of them ran up 5 inches, and the other one opened up with its Keres assault cannon into the Thallax, managing to strip a couple of wounds off. Overall, at the end of this shooting phase, I've got to say it's been fantastic and really put David on the back foot, I think.
Auto Reductor turn 1 movement. After an amazingly good opening turn from the Sons of Horus, the Mechanicum are definitely on the back foot. They have now decided that they have to destroy that Venator because it's a tank hunting vehicle and it will start to mince the tanks up just like the Sons of Horus Spartan did. So the plan here is the Kragnos doesn't have a line of target at the moment. Nothing can hurt for the time being. It's moved further in to cover those ruins. The Cryos containing the 2 multi-melter Thallax have shot forward. And the Venator here has pushed forward, and he's going to be boosted by 4 photon thruster shots from the Thallax inside that Triaris, and the Warlord will pass +1 ballistic skill onto that Venator as well to try and take out the Venator. On the top here, the squad have moved round just so they can bring 2 more photon thruster shots just in case they're needed. And then they will inevitably thrust forward in the assault phase to claim that objective beginning of their next turn. The Kragnos here on the left-hand flank, it can't get range to the Dreadnoughts with its side sentinel weapons, so it's just moved further into cover and tightened it all up. Fingers crossed. Auto Reductor, turn 1 shooting. The Archmados Reductor passed his +1 ballistic skill onto the Cryos Venator, which then shot 4 times into the front of the Sons of Horus Sikaran Venator and got 3 hits, 3 penetrates, and was enough to destroy the tank hunting vehicle. It's a slight sigh of relief. We've now obviously got to deal with a Spartan at some point, but now the Thallax are going to have a go at shooting some Sons of Horus. The final act of the shooting phase, as no other units had targets, the Triaris armor conveyor there shot forward another 6 inches, moving flat out. And then finally, this Kragnos vehicle also moves further 6 inches just to get a little bit more range and get those Volkite, excuse me, not the Volkite Sentinels, but to get those Sentinel weapons into bear, hopefully in the future turns. The Thallax unit would have liked to have thrust forward in the assault phase here, but they're attached to the Archmados Reductor that doesn't have a jetpack in this list, so they unfortunately had to stay still. But this unit of Thallax on the top here got a 7-inch thrust move, and they have taken hold of that objective and will score that at the beginning of their turn 2. They're just now facing down one of those Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Other than that, that is the end of the Mechanicum's turn 1. It's been a bit of a bruising one.
Sons of Horus turn 2 movement. Really lucky for the Sons of Horus is both of the units in reserve have turned up. That's the Lightning and the Speeders. The Lightning has raced on up the left-hand flank and looks to take a shot at the missile-carrying Mechanicum vehicle. The Land Raider, the Spartan, has pushed up to try and put some threat into the flank of the Mechanicum, followed up by the Rhino as well. On the other flank, very much a game of 2 flanks here, the 2 Rhinos are playing a game of cat and mouse here. They're hiding away. There's so much firepower for the Mechanicum. The Land Speeders have come on, ready to take some shots at the Thallax up on the walkway, and the 2 Contemptors have pushed up again, making some really good move through cover rolls to get close to the Mechanicum. Sons of Horus turn 2 shooting phase. Swooping on, the Lightning opened up with all of its missiles into the Kragnos. 4 Kraken penetrator missiles went into it, 3 hits, 2 penetrates, 1 glance. One of the penetrates gave me an explode result, and the tank is now gone. Second to go in the shooting phase with 3 newly arrived Land Speeders, opening up onto the Thallax onto the walkway. They fire with the heavy bolters first, inflicting a mighty 3 wounds onto the Thallax, killing one of them, and then the Volkite opened up, and this time not being AP4, being AP5, like it says in the rules, and again stripped off 3 wounds from the Thallax, with a further 1 wound coming off thanks to the Deflagrate special rule. Contemptor then fired up at the Thallax that the land speeders had just shot at. Started with a graviton gun, with a strength of 5, very unlikely to do anything to the Thallax, and it didn't. However, the Keres made up for it and took 2 wounds off the Thallax, which was great news. The Rhino at the back then fired up at the Thallax, 1 twin-link bolter off the top of it, and the Marines inside fired 2 bolters as well. They hit, however, with 5 to wound, nothing happened. At the end of the shooting phase, because there was no shooting left at those Thallax, they took a leadership test, and with a roll of a 6, passed. End of Sons of Horus, turn 2. Not a bad turn. At this point, I have killed nearly half of the Mechanicum vehicles. This is putting me in a really good position, and it's looking like 2 of my pincers are really hemming in the Mechanicum into that corner. So I'm in quite a strong position, I think, going into Mechanicum turn 2.
Auto Reductor, turn 2 movement, and now we are desperately trying to turn the tide against the onslaught of the Sons of Horus units. The Thallax, armed with 2 multi-melters in that Trioros at the front, have got out, and they are targeting that Contemptor in the side armour, both with the Mortar Bolt Cannon from the Trioros and the melters and the lightning guns. Over here, the Magos Reductor has moved to the back of that tank. He's going to guide the Cryos battle tank, and it's shooting into the front of the Spartan. Has got a cover save, but it's only a 5 up. The Thallax have moved forward. They will pour their firepower into that flare shielded Spartan, or if the Cryos does it, they might turn and reinforce that Contemptor on the hill there. On the left-hand side, the Thallax, armed with their photon thrusters and lightning guns, will try and take down that Contemptor or severely wound it. One of the sentinel weapons on this Kragnos can shoot into the Contemptor, and the rest of its strength 5 missiles, ignoring cover, will go into those land speeders and try and take them out. We need some rolls that Alistair got in his first turn, so fingers crossed. Mechanicum turn 2 shooting. The Archmagos Reductor passed on the Sunder special rule and the +1 ballistic skill to the Cryos Venator, giving it 4 shots at strength 9 AP 2 and improving the damage result by 1 into the Spartan. 4 shots went in, 2 glance, 1 pen. The cover saved one of the penetratings, but it went through. But unfortunately, a 1 was rolled, and therefore it only shook the Spartan. But it has taken 2 hull points, which we're really pleased with. Next to fire were the 2 photon thrusters from the Thallax cohort in front of the Venator. They fired 4 photon thruster shots, got 3 hits, and unbelievably, thanks to the Destructor special rule, got 2 more glances on that Spartan. It is down to a single hull point. Next to fire was the twin-link Mortar Bolt Cannon on the Trios there, fired up at the Contemptor. Got 3 hits, but failed to penetrate or glance its armour. The lightning gun similarly had no effect on the Contemptor, but it was the one of the multi-melters that managed to penetrate the Contemptor, causing a hull point and immobilising it. Next up, also to fire, was another unit of Thallax. They pumped 2 lightning guns into the Contemptor below them, no damage, but 3 photon thruster shots managed to find their mark on that Contemptor and strip it of a single hull point. Both Contemptors passed their blind check. And then finally, the Kragnos assault tank fired one of its sentinel weapons into the Dreadnought. Got 2 hits, but again failed to penetrate its armour. The mortar battery, being strength 5, are able to harm the land speeders in front of them. Got 5 hits in total, but we needed 5 to glance and didn't roll a single one, so they are unscathed. I was hoping for a bit of a result on them because they ignore cover and hopefully would have glanced one of them out, but it didn't quite work. The next thing to do is just to do some thrust moves in the assault phase. Mechanicum turned to the assault phase. The thrust move consisted of this unit here moving 11, and they jump back over their transport just to shield themselves from the Keres fire coming in. This unit here between the Cryos and the Venator, or the Trioros and the Venator rather, got a massive 4 inches, but they moved back ever so slightly because they don't want to receive a charge from those Justarin. And finally, this unit on here, they would have loved to have rolled a 5 or a 6 or above rather, because then they would have been able to have just dropped down here and kept themselves alive. but they rolled a 4, so they've just scuttled back. They will now have to brace for the firepower from that Contemptor and the jet bikes maybe. On the whole, not a bad turn, a little bit poor, but we'll see what happens.
Sons of Horus, turn 3 movement. Starting things off, the Spartan, mightiest tank in the 31st millennium, hit a rock, blew a track, rolled a double 1 on its dangerous terrain test, took a hull point and is immobilized. So the Justarian will be walking now. This is terrible news. They're very unlikely to get in. The Lightning raced overhead and has come to the centre of the battlefield. With its twinning last cannon, it might be able to do something to some of the Mechanicum tanks. The Rhino with the veterans inside, remember they've got Machine Killer, has pushed up and popped smoke. Hopefully the Marines inside will be able to do some damage next turn if they can survive. The Contemptor next to the building is immobilized, so all it's going to be able to do is take some shots at the conveyor, and the Rhino next to it has pushed up to claim the objective standing next to it. The Land Speeders have pushed over to the other side of the battlefield. Hopefully they'll be able to do some damage in later turns. And finally, the Contemptor has lined up a 9-inch charge into those Thallax. With Fleet, it might just be able to do it. Sons of Horus, turn 3 shooting. Starting things off, the Lightning's fired at the Venator in front of it. It hit with the twin last cannon. It then got a penetrating hit thanks to Tank Hunter in a mathematical improbability. This mathematical improbability then continued with the cover save being made for intervening models, saving the Venator's skin. The Justarian, so rudely disembarked from the transport vehicle, have now woken up and fired with everything into the Thallax in front of them. Multi-Melter predictably rolled a 1 to miss. However, some luck from the combi bolters has stripped a single wound off the Thallax arm with a photon thruster. Taking revenge for the humiliation suffered last turn, the Contemptor opened up into the armoured conveyor. Incredibly, took 2 hull points off it, immobilised it, and stunned it. Couldn't have really asked for a better roll. On the right-hand flank, the Land Speeders have moved flat out, just pushing up towards the centre of the battlefield, as I think that's where all the action is now. So they're going to move up there. The Contemptor has done nothing. I don't want to risk that 9-inch charge. We'll see what happens as we go into the assault phase. Sons of Horus, turn 3 assault phase. The Contemptor is going to make a ballsy charge at the Thallax in front of it. They first of all opened up with their Overwatch. The photon thruster managed to get a single hit. However, the Contemptor passed both its invulnerable save and the blind check. So all to play for. It's got a 9-inch range for this charge, and with the reroll with Fleet, it's got a really good chance. So here we go. That's a 6, not good enough. Let's see what happens next. Oh, he's in! Amazing. That was the Contemptor's charge. It managed to do no wounds, unfortunately, with its Hammer of Wrath. However, 4 attacks, 3's to hit, 2's to wound. All successful all the way, and that's 4 dead Thallax. That's absolutely incredible. At the end of Sons of Horus turn 3, I think the Sons of Horus are in a pretty good position. They've managed to pin the Mechanicum into the centre of the battlefield, and there's a lot of threats going on. However, a lot of my really good units are now dead, so it's still to play for, I think. And finally, not to forget consolidation. The Contemptor has jumped off the walkway down behind the Mechanicum. If it can survive, it's got 2 hull points left, it's in a real position to threaten them.
Auto Reductor, turn 3, movement phase. That very, very sneaky Contemptor, Sons of Horus Contemptor there, has dropped down off that gantry to threaten the rear of the Mechanicum line. So the Auto Reductor with a multi-melter has positioned himself, as have the Cryos Venator there. Hopefully we can take him out in this turn. The Kraknos has advanced forward 6 inches and will try and bring its battery to bear on those jet bikes. Hopefully we'll get a bit more of some good luck there. The unit of Thallax, the cohort of Thallax here, have moved forward. They will shoot over the top of that rhino into the jet bikes. That's where the major threat is at the moment. The Trios armoured conveyor there is immobilised and stunned, but it will snap shoot into the jet bikes. This Thallax cohort here with the photon thrusters need to take those final 2 points of that contemptor. It's causing us a massive pain. And then finally, the Trioros over there on the far battlefield will either target the Justerin, get off some wounds maybe, or we might just try and get rid of that pesky plane. It's probably not worth it now, it's only a las cannon, but it's probably a bit more threatening than the Terminators because we can keep them at arm's length. I'm going to say it again, we need some luck. Mechanicum turn 3 shooting phase. The Kraknos opens up with its mortar battery into the jet bikes. They didn't jink because they don't need to because it ignores cover. Got 5 hits but failed to roll at a single 5 yet again. It's not a good start. Next up to fire was the snap shooting Mauler bolt cannon from that Trioros. The Sons of Horus decided to jink this time. Got 2 hits despite snap shooting. Got 2 penetrates, but Alistair made 2 amazing jink saves. Next up will be the Thallax, and he won't be so lucky with his jinx because it's a -2 to his cover save. The Thallax cohort in front of the Rhino there shot their lightning guns, got 1 hit on the Sons of Horus jet bikes, and 1 glance, but they did jink, which was brilliant news. So we will not suffer the firepower of them in the next turn. The multi-melters also fired, but rolled a 1 and a 2, which wasn't very helpful at all. Finally, a bit of good news for the Mechanicum. The 5 lightning guns from the squad there down by the crates fired up at the Contemptor, who was contemptuously staring them down with his Carrier's assault cannon. Got 4 hits, 2 penetrating hits went through, and the vulnerable save was failed twice, wrecking that Contemptor. Finally, some good news for the Mechanicum. The Archmagos Reductor, supposedly good at shooting, fired his melter gun into the Contemptor, but amazingly rolled a 1, so that's pretty awesome. But it was the Cryos Venator that shot 4 of its fusil shots into the Contemptor, 3 hits, 1 glance and 2 pens. The invulnerable was failed on 2 of them, and that wrecked the Contemptor Dreadnought. This is really good news. The battle is starting to turn for the Mechanicum. We just really need to deal with the jet bikes and maybe some of the tactical units, but we'll see what happens. We've got a little bit of shooting left from the Trioros armoured conveyor. The final shot of Order Reductor turn 3. The Volkite Sentinels were unfortunately out of range on the Trioros armoured conveyor, firing at the Justerin, but the Mauler bolt cannon went in, 3 shots, 3 hits, 3 wounds, but Alistair made all of his 2-up armour saves. I'm pretty sure it would have happened, but it was worth the chance. That is all of the shooting for turn 3. We're just now going to go into the assault phase and do some thrust moves. Order Reductor turn 3 assault phase. The Thallax cohort over there by the Rhino managed an 8-inch on their thrust move, and they just consolidated behind the transport. The unit behind them managed to thrust 3 inches, as did the Cybot Colaris on the crate. Unbelievably, thanks to blessed Autosimulacra, that Trios armour conveyor managed to get a hull point back, taking it back up to 3, which was brilliant. And finally, this tiny little Cybot Colaris here moved a massive 10 inches and navigated its way through the wreck of ruins there. On the whole, not too bad. The only units I'm really worried about now are the jet bikes and the Justerin. I might be able to stay away from the Justerin, but the jet bikes have got to, the land speeders have got to die in the next turn.
Sons of Horus turn 4 movement phase. Now the Mechanicum have kind of put the Sons of Horus on the back foot here, so they're going to have to try and reclaim the initiative. Starting things, the Lightning has shot forward, ready to take some shots at the Venator. Round the side, the Justerin are going to attempt to multi-charge both the Cybot Ocularis and the armoured conveyor. It'll be an 11-inch charge to the armoured conveyor, so that's pretty high risk, but they should be able to kill at least the Cybot Ocularis. Although the land speeders did jink last turn, they will be able to still shoot snap shooting into some Thallax, and maybe they can take them out. And the veterans have got out the Rhino, ready to take some shots at the Thallax, joined by the tacticals up on the hill near the objective. Slightly starting to regret not making a play to charge the rocket wielding Mechanicum vehicle a couple of turns ago with a Contemptor, but we'll see what happens next. Sons of Horus, turn 4 shooting phase, proving once and for all that the Lightning is the best flyer in the game. It's shot with its twin last cannon, hit, penetrated, then exploded the Venator. Fantastic start to the turn. Land speeders then fired into Thallax in front of them. Having jinked last turn, they were only firing snapshots, so it was a bit of a stretch for them to do anything. They did get 4 hits with the Volkite, which was really impressive for hitting on 6s, and that managed to take a single wound off the Thallax. The heavy bolters then fired and completely missed, so not a great start for them. The tactical squad on the hill, including the mighty Imperial Space Marine, have fired down on the Thallax. Thanks to their Death Dealer special rule, and being within 12 inches, they hit on 2s, managing to cause 2 wounds on the Thallax. The veteran squad then had a bit of a choice. With their plasma guns, they were actually in the side arc of the armoured conveyor, and with Machine Killer stood a real chance of doing some damage. However, the Thallax are more of a threat, so they fired at them. Plasma guns did fantastic work. Again, hitting on 2s thanks to the Death Dealer special rule, there was a mighty 8 hits, which led to 6 wounds, and only 2 were passed with the Feel No Pain, leading to 4 unsaved wounds on the Thallax, managing to kill 2 of them because some of them were already wounded. The bolters then predictably did nothing. Finally, the Thallax, because they finished shooting out, managed to pass the leadership test. Sons of Horus turn 4 assault phase. Now the Justerin are in range to charge both the Cyber Ocularis and the armoured conveyor, so they're going to try and get both. It's an easy 3-inch charge to the Cyber Ocularis and an 11-inch charge to get to the armoured conveyor. So with a multi-charge, I just need a 3, but an 11 will be great. So here we go. Oh, that's nothing. Well, only the Cyber Ocularis. The Justerin charged 5 inches and were then able to pile in 3 inches towards the Cyber Ocularis. Predictably, they killed it almost immediately with the Traitor and his Paragon Blade. They then consolidated 5 inches, which they did so towards the armoured conveyancer. This has been a really good manoeuvre for the Justerin, bringing them into the game again.
Autoreductor, turn 4 movement. Those Justerin are getting scarily close to the Mechanicum lines. So in response, the Triaris armor conveyor has reversed to 12 inches. It will be going flat out in its shooting phase. The Warlord has just advanced forward 6 inches to try and catch up with the rest of the Thallax cohorts. The Kraknos has moved around 6 inches. It will fire its mortar battery on either the land speeders or the tactical unit, using the Cyber Ocularis as a bit of a sighting for it. The Thallax have just consolidated here into this centre. We either need to take the jet bikes out because they're quite a threat, or we need to put their firepower into the squads because they will inevitably charge and they are a little bit tasty in combat. So I'm not 100% sure about what to do with the issuing of rounds at the moment. But finally, the Triaris is now firing at full effect despite being immobilised, and will pour his firepower either into the jet bikes or the Marines in front of them. Not sure yet. Autoreductor, turn 4 shooting phase. The Mauler bolt cannon opened up into the Marines in front of them, got 2 hits and 2 kills, reducing that squad down, which was lovely. The Volkite Sentinel on the right-hand side of the screen also had a go, but failed to wound. And then the left Volkite Sentinel shot into the front of Rido, got 2 hits, but failed to glance its armour. Also on the far field of battle over there, the Triaris armoured conveyor reversed a further 6 inches by going flat out. After a lot of debating, the Thallax, armed with 2 photon thrusters and 4 lightning guns, one of which was out of range, shot into the land speeders. The lightning gun attacks managed to wreck one of the speeders, and then the photon thrusters managed to score 2 penetrating hits and exploding the second. That has dramatically reduced the firepower coming from those land speeders, as they are a very, very tasty unit against Thallax. I'm quite pleased with that result. Alistair decided not to jink either, which was a good play, And we should also mention that one hull point was put on the rear land speeder as well. So a fantastic result. Finally, next to fire was the Thallax armed with 2 multi-melters. The multi-melters shot and killed 2 of the Sons of Horus in front of them. The 3 remaining lightning guns then fired, but failed to cause any wounds. But that's really good. The Sons of Horus passed their leadership test, and I would imagine the Thallax will now try and charge them. The Kragnos finally had a bit of luck. It fired straight up into the air, using that Cybot Ocularis as a targeting site, and put 3 templates down amongst the Marines coming up the hill there. Scored a total of 10 hits and managed to kill 3 Marines. Alistair did pass his leadership test. So all we need to now is do a quick pinning test to see if they're pinned or not. Other than that, we're going to go into the assault phase where the Thallax will charge the Sons of Horus in front of them. Order Reductor, turn 4 assault phase. The Thallax did a killer charge against the plasma unit there. They did overwatch but failed to cause any hits. And then the Thallax barreled in with a 5-inch charge but also connected with the Rhino. Hopefully, if we're a bit lucky, we might be able to do some damage. But the Sons of Horus will strike first at Initiative 4. Combat between the Thallax, the Rhino, and the Sons of Horus veteran squad. Initiative 4, the 2 Marines struck with 6 attacks, got 2 hits and 1 wound. The Thallax then attacked back at Initiative 3, I think, or 2, can't quite remember. Either one, it doesn't matter. And managed to get 3 wounds on the squad, but failed. But Alistair made all of his armor saves, so good on him. And then finally the melta bomb went in, got a hit, got a penetrate, put 1 hull point on and took out one of the combi bolters. Bit of a shame, would like to have exploded it. But then the veteran sergeant attacked with his power fist, 2 hits, 1 wound, and put a wound on the Thallax. The Thallax did lose the combat, but they passed their leadership test thanks for being stubborn. All that is remaining to do is that final squad at the back there with the photon thrusters will make their thrust move. The final act of the assault phase was the Thallax cohort armed with photon thrusters thrust forward 7 inches, and the reason why I've gone closer is because I do not want to give those Justarian any targets. I don't want to move up or charge and threaten what we've got going on here. So they've had to move closer. They obviously have to stare down that unit there, but we'll have to see what happens. And then finally, this Cybot Ocularis managed a massive 12-inch thrust move, and that's gone to the highest point on the table that will give the Kragnos some ranging fire.
Sons of Horus, turn 5 movement phase. There's really not that much left for the Sons to do at the minute, so it's a case of using what resources are available. The Justarian at the back of the board have now moved up. Again, they're looking for another 11-inch charge, this time into the back of the immobilised conveyor. So hopefully that will come off. Could really change the game. The land speeder in the middle of the board has moved to line up a shot at the remaining Thallax. Again, it didn't jink last turn, so this time it hopefully will be able to shoot well. On top of the hill, the tactical squad has consolidated their position to put some fire down on the Thallax in the centre of the board. And finally, after leaving a trail of destruction, the lightning has moved to the side of the board to take some shots at the Kragnos and hopefully do some damage to it. Sons of Horus, turn 5 shooting phase. Starting things off, the lightning. Slightly less successful than last turn, but still having a big impact. With the twinning last cannon, with Tank Hunter, managed to strip a hull point off the Kragnos and stun it, meaning that its missiles won't be shooting next turn, which is a great result. Second to shoot was the land speeder, once more proving what a vital unit the land speeders are. The Volkite and the heavy bolter managed to strip 3 wounds off the Thallax unit, critically killing one of the Thallax with the photon thruster, which is really good. The tactical squad on the hill then shot down into the Thallax, again making use of the Death Dealer special rule to hit on 2s. Very impressively managed to take 2 wounds off one of the Thallax. The Rhino then tried to have a go itself, unfortunately didn't wound. Finally for the Sons of Horus, the Justarian fired into the armoured conveyor with the multi-melter. Impressively managed to hit, rolling a 3, and also then penetrated, destroying a weapon Unfortunately, it was only one of the Volkites rather than the Mauler. Sons of Horus turn 5 assault phase. Once more, the Sons of Horus Justarian find themselves 9 inches away from an enemy vehicle. However, with the cover, it will be another 11-inch charge. So, let's see if they make it. Come on, boys. Oh, I saw the 6, it was beautiful, but the dice that fell out the tray is a 2. So that's no dice. Combat between the veterans and the Thallax. The veterans once more swing in with a mighty 6 attacks and stripped a wound off the Thallax, crucially killing one. Great start. The Thallax then swing back with a mighty 8 attacks this time, managing to take down a veteran Space Marine. Mighty Power Fist from the Sergeant then swings back, but he misses, leaving the combat a draw. End of Sons of Horus turn 5. It really is all to play for at the minute. Yes, there's not much Sons of Horus left on the battlefield, but equally, a lot of the Mechanicum are either dead or close to dead. I think it will be a really close game going into these last couple of turns.
Order Doctor, turn 5 movement phase. The Trios has moved forward, and he's going to try and bring his Volkite Sentinels to bear on the Justarian, and then the Mauler Bolt Cannon onto that lone Marine you can just see and within range. The Warlord has moved up to try and get his multi-melter to bear on the Sons of Horus, but the rocks are obscuring him slightly. The Kraknos on the side here is snap shooting, but the Lightning Blaster Sentinels will fire independently and at Ballistic Skill 2, hopefully into that Sons of Horus on that building, taking it out. The Thallax here have moved forward and they will engage the Sons of Horus in front of them. We need to get them off that objective. And then finally, before it dies to a charge from the Sons of Horus Terminators, the Trios will fire everything it has either into the jet bike to get rid of its firepower or to add its weight of firepower into this unit here. Let's see what happens. Order Reductor, turn 5 shooting phase. The Mauler Bolt Cannon on top of that Trios did a great job and picked off one Space Marine from the corner of this building here. Thanks to the Cyber Glaris on top of that building, it had -1 to its cover save and failed, thanks to the weapon being AP3. Then the Kraknos opened up with its Lightning Blaster Sentinels. Only needed 5s to hit because of the special rule there, but got 6s, which was great. One was rending, one was armour, but amazingly, Alistair had a 5-up save, -1 for the Cyber Glaris, but made a 6-up cover and then passed his armour save. So it would have been nice just to have peeled another one out, but it wasn't meant to be. Next to fire was the Trios Armoured Conveyor in the centre of the board, immobilised. He shot his Volkite Sentinel into the Sons of Horus onto the hill there. 2 shots, 1 hit, 1 miss, and managed to kill one, which was brilliant. Deflagrate did nothing. And then finally, the Mauler Bolt Cannon opened up into the speeder, got 3 hits, 2 pens, and Alistair decided not to jink because he figured that Mechanicum wasn't going to do the business due to their poor history in the past. But happily was wrong, and that took the final hull point off the speeder, taking the pressure off the army, which is great news. The last thing to fire now is the Thallax cohort in front of the Tactical Marines on the hill there. The final act of shooting for turn 5 for the Order Reductor ended with the 4 lightning guns from the squad firing into the Sons of Horus up on the hill. There was 1 wound and 1 rending hit, which killed a trooper, and then a failed lookout sir managed to kill the sergeant. The Photon Fuster then reached out, killed another Marine, leaving the Imperial Space Marine left all on his lonesome. He passed his blind check, and he also passed his leadership test. So he is defiantly stood there guarding that objective. I think what the Mechanicum will do now is they will thrust onto the objective, being an inch away, and then that will force the Mechanicum, Sons of Horus to do something with that. But we will now move on to the combat between the Thallax and the veterans. Order Reductor, turn 5 assault phase. Really, really interesting. Initiative 4, the veteran Marine struck with 3 attacks, got 2 hits and no wounds. Then Initiative 2, the Thallax struck in with that 8 attacks, but only got 1 hit, which was unreal. But that was enough to kill the veteran Marine, thankfully. The veteran sergeant then struck in with 2 attacks from his Power Fist, but rolled a 1 and a 2. The veteran then passed his leadership test, locking the Thallax and the vet in combat. Not a bad position to be in. And then finally, the Thallax over here rolled a whopping 11 inches on their thrust move and managed to take command of the refueling station. And crucially, that objective. I'm always mindful about taking objectives in War of Lies, because if you roll that -3, then you're pretty much done for. But it will give Alistair something to think about for the Imperial Space Marine about what he's going to do next turn. And that is it. Let's see what the Sons of Horus have got for their final turn 6.
Sons of Horus turn 6 movement and the final turn of the game. This has resulted in the tack squad on the left flank getting out and claiming that objective next to the Rex Spartan. In the centre of the battlefield, the Rhino has just attached itself from the combat with the Thallax, and the Justerin have moved up. They're 5 inches away from the rear of that armoured conveyor, but they've got to go through terrain to get there, so that'll be a 7-inch charge when it comes down to it. Finally, the Imperial Space Marine has hunkered down next to the ruins of that dreadnought, trying to keep away from lots of stuff. And also the lightning. I need to keep it on the board, because if it flies off it counts as destroyed. So it can't really do anything, so it's just try to stay on the board and get as far away from nasty stuff as possible. Sons of Horus turn 6 shooting phase. There's really not much left. The Imperial Space Marine opens up with his special bolter, but does nothing. The Rhino next to him also tries something similar, but does nothing against the Thallax either. So a bit of a wet shooting phase for the final one for the Sons of Horus. The Justerin, they really want to be in base contact with that tank when they destroy it to claim the objective that's underneath it, so they haven't fired the melter this time. Sons of Horus turn 6 assault phase. Here we go. The Justerin, most powerful Terminator unit in the game, finally get a chance to do some work and hit the back of that armoured conveyor. All they need to do is roll a 7 on 2 dice. It's the average, so there shouldn't be a problem. Here we go. Oh, beautiful. That's a 9. They're well in. Predictably, the Justerin march in, swing at the armoured conveyor, and explode it with the chain fists. The explosion caused 2 wounds to the Justerin, but they passed both their saves. Crucially also, the fact that the armoured conveyor is dead has given them one of the objectives. Time will tell with the rolls whether that's a good idea or not. Final combat of the game for the Sons of Horus. A real chance for them to show what their true quality is. Unfortunately, just resulted in a unit of Thallax tearing down a veteran sergeant with a power fist before he even got a chance to miss. That's the last turn for the Sons of Horus. Not much more they could have done, really. They contest a couple of objectives, they also claim a couple of objectives, and they've done a lot of damage to the Mechanicum. Let's see what happens as we go into the final Mechanicum turn.
Auto Reductor, 6th and final turn, movement phase. The Reductor has taken a massive gamble here. So because they have the Walkers in Ruin special role, they ignore all difficult terrain they move through, which is great news. So this Thallax unit that were on that objective in front of the Space Marine have extended themselves as much as possible to get within 4 inches of that objective, or 5 inches rather. So what they plan to do is they plan to fire 2 weapons into that Marine there, kill him, and then they will thrust move, capture that objective. The Thallax on the bottom of the hill will fire into the Rhino, hopefully destroying it, and then they will thrust move back onto the objective, claiming it at the end of the game. That will net the Thallax, or the Auto Reductor, 2 objectives, same as the Sons of Horus. Then the Kreknos, now firing at full ballistic skill, although snap shooting due to the aircraft being in the air, will try and take down the lightning. The Archmagos Reductor has brought his melter gun to bear into the Sons of Horus, as have the Trios Armoured Conveyor. We're just trying to cause a couple of wounds. You never know, we might be able to get them to break. Who knows? Other than that, we can't do anything about the Sons of Horus scoring that objective over there. but we can try and do something about the Justerian on here. Fingers crossed. Auto-reductor, turn 6 shooting. The Magos fired his multi-melter hit this time, but rolled a 1 to wound, so that was awesome. And then the Trios armoured conveyor fired everything it had into the Justerian. Everything hit, but Alistair made his amazing 2-up saves. The Kreknos fired 6 shots up at the lightning, decided to jink, which was good news for the lightning, but one of the shots got through on a roll to hit of a 6 and rolled a 4 to glance, and Alistair failed his jink save, which put 1 whole point on that lightning. Could have been a different story, but we certainly had a really good go. The Thallax on top of the building there lowered his photon thruster into the Imperial Space Marine. 1 shot, 1 hit, 1 kill, which was great. Although Alistair and I have just realised, even if I do my sneaky shenanigans with a thrust move to try and claim 2 objectives, this Rhino is within 3 inches of that objective and is a denial. So there's a lot of wasted effort there. So really now, if I underroll my thrust move on that objective over there, I'm pretty screwed. So we'll see how that goes in a second in the assault phase. But finally, the last shooting for this phase was the 2 multi-melter shot into the Rhino in front of them and destroyed it. So that's really good news. Auto-reductor, turn 6 assault phase, and the Thallax made a massive 7-inch thrust move onto that objective, claiming it for the end of the game. Real shame about that Rhino. I just didn't see it. It was just sat there silently in the open. I didn't bother thrust moving the Thallax because they can't claim it anyway. But here we go. That is the end of the game. The scores are extremely close, but we're going to do a final tot-up and come back to you. That was Game 5, Harvest on the Black Sand. And Alistair, I'm a nervous wreck.
Me too after that. It was so close. It really felt like... so from the start, I kind of felt like in a really strong position, but then just could not kill those Thallax. And they really kind of came into their own at the end of the game.
They did all right. I'm not going to lie, I was very downhearted when Alistair blew 2 of my amazing tank destroyer weapons off the board with 1 shot.
Well, technically 4 shots.
4 shots.
But the opening shot of the game, it felt amazing.
It's spectacular.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've got a lot of high strength, low AP weaponry, but I very rarely get a hit and a pen, but I never get that 6 to then take it to AP2, AP1 to explode it. Never happens. But then Alistair just rocks up with these puny las cannons and just annihilates. And you were literally every turn knocking big vehicles out of the sky, out of the ground.
All in that wrist action. I endlessly practice at home.
It was a horrifying game, I'm not going to lie.
Rolling that 6 just feels, especially when you do it twice and kill 2 vehicles. I'd compare it to sex, but it lasts longer.
It was horrible. But you did an amazing job, though. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You did.
Very much.
You really...
Of course, you too. You really... it kind of started off almost like a bit of a one-sided game, but you know, you didn't break your spirit.
No.
You pulled it back.
Well, it did in the first turn.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I had to hug him. He was crying. He was like, I don't want to go back in there. But I got him back in.
We did it. It is a very, very close game. Let's just quickly remind ourselves, at the end of the game, Mechanicum killed 8 of the Sons of Horus units, which netted them 8 points. The Sons of Horus killed 5 of the Mechanicum units. So at the moment, Mechanicum are winning, but that Rhino denied me. God damn it! So Alistair has 2 rolls on the War of Life chart, and I have 1. I'm going to go first because
go ahead.
Alistair's rolling has been amazing
Here we go.
all game. So okay, I'm just going to roll it and get on. I'll see if my maths can help. So roll a 4, so I get 2 victory points.
So that puts you up to 10.
I'm up to 10. So Alistair, you need to get. You need a 4 and a 5.
Here we go.
Or a double 5 to win.
Double 5 to win.
Don't you dare.
Are you ready?
Don't you dare.
Oh no, that's not good. So I've got a 2, which is 1 victory point, and a 6, which is minus D3.
Yes!
So I've definitely lost.
You have.
And that's -2 off my total. So that takes me down to a measly, pathetic 4. Terrible.
Oh
After
my
all
God.
that effort. I bet it was the one that just staring were on.
Who knows? Final score, 8 Mechanicum, or Auto Reductor, and 4 to the Sons of Horus. Oh, screw
Yeah.
God, I do this every time. I'm so sorry. 10 to the Mechanicum, or Auto Reductor, and 4 to the Sons of Horus. So congratulations to me.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well played.
That was very tough.
Yeah, uh-huh.
But let's not forget, it was a win that the Mechanicum needed, because it's now 2-3.
Absolutely, yeah.
I need to win the final to draw. But we'll talk about the final game in a minute. We've discussed it quite a lot today. Let's talk about the unit you've brought back. Your amazing Lightning.
Absolutely. So I expect a Lightning to come on and kill a tank. Kill a super heavy, kill a knight. I expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Once it's done that, it's basically just a flying las cannon. It's kind of impressive, but not really. I always say that I can tell I've got into my opponent's head when they start shooting the lightning after it's hit 5 missiles, because really it's not going to do very much.
No.
And it's just there to be an irritant rather than a full destructive unit. However, today it more than earned its points back after killing. Was it one of those tanks? Or
I think it was. Yeah, it was
killed one of those tanks, killed a Kraknos, and then came and killed the second Venator, which was fantastic. So I was well pleased, and then stunned the second Kraknos for a turn. So that's an incredibly impressive level of work for that little flyer. So, and it's its first outing as well.
Okay.
So it's definitely proving to be a better Lightning than my White Scars one already.
It was a very, very powerful unit.
Absolutely.
And I only decided to shoot it at the end just to try and maybe get some victory points for another one. But I got a whole point on it, but didn't quite manage to peel it off. But Lightnings are always a frightening prospect, particularly when they've got 4 Kraken penetrators. I mean, like you said, did the job, came in, blasted the side off before it even got to shoot.
Yeah. It was, it's very much a tank that doesn't care about your happiness, your feelings. It will just come in and do its work. And it did it admirably today. So
did a great job. I brought back the Kraknos assault tank. You never ever see any of these out in the wild, or very rarely. And I've got 2 now. Now I've painted all of the tanks for the army. I've got 10 tanks now, 2 of which are the Kraknos. Quite interesting. I like the ability of the lightning. I can always forget the name of it. Lightning Blaster Sentinel. Yes.
Just words.
You know, 6 shots, shred, rending, really good, and independent fire, because obviously the mortar battery is 60 inches, and this is kind of like defensive fire, I guess. Worked really, really well. The mortar battery, I was targeting the land speeders because it ignores cover, which would have worked really well if I could have rolled a 5. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
So very poor rolling from my part. But when it hit the troops, it did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely afraid of it. That's why the lightning went after one of them.
Yeah.
And then went after the other one as well, actually. I think I made a really, really big mistake with the consolidation move of the Contemptor. I should have gone for that. I should not have jumped down behind the Mechanicum, because you could just turn a Venator round and kill it. So, definitely the threat of them made me scared. If not, they didn't necessarily wipe out units.
That's
right.
Right.
Definitely really heavily manipulated what I was doing.
It's all about the mind games.
Absolutely, yeah. Got in my head.
Good. I thought it was a really fantastic game. There was a lot of to and fro in, and it looked like the Mechanicum had lost it from the first turn, but slowly we managed to pull it back. And as Alistair said, it was thanks to the resilience of the Thallax and a bit of rune shenaniganery, which was allowed to do, and their high strength, low OP weaponry with the ability to thrust move after they've shot. So move 6, thrust anywhere from 2 to 12 inches really helped out.
It's just like trying to fight jelly.
It is a little.
You just cannot pin them down. You know, you've really got to shut them down from multiple angles before you'll be able to get that charge in, because they're just, moving another 7 inches after they've kind of shot and done all their actions. So it's really, really tough to deal with them.
I think one of the key points in the game was not only losing all of those vehicles very early on in the game, but we were so lucky that the Spartan immobilised itself. I mean, a double 1 on a difficult terrain, dangerous terrain roll, that's never happened. Yeah,
that was a big moment, actually, because I think the critical thing was, if it just immobilised itself, that would kind of be okay, but that whole point meant the Terminators could just not stay in there anymore.
Yeah.
That was deeply disappointing.
It really helped the Mechanicum out because we were able to keep those just staring at arm's length, because
absolutely, yeah,
anything that unit touched would have obliterated it before their eyes.
Exactly, yeah. My plan was just to kind of swing the Spartan around that kind of rock on the left-hand side of the battlefield and just drive it through your army like a kind of hot knife through butter. But it wasn't to be. The Justarian had to walk, which was deeply upsetting for them.
My initial plan was obviously to shoot the squadron Venator into the Spartan. It had no flare shield, which is even better, and I just would have ripped through it. It would have immobilised it, and those Terminators would have been on the other side of the board. I wouldn't have to worry about them full stop. But Alistair did an amazing job with that lightning and just peeled out those two vehicles. So it was the Spartan.
It was very much like a kind of guns.
Who got there first?
Guns at dawn, like a kind of Western duel or something.
Oh man, needed that siege. But anyway,
yeah.
A great game. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this. Remember, there are 4 games prior to this where we explore this scenario, Harvest on the Black Sands. We've dealt with, I don't want to give it too much away if you haven't seen them, but we've dealt with Psychers, we've had Zone Mortalis.
Absolutely,
We've had allied units on the Mechanicum side.
Yeah, we've kind of played at Centurion levels, we've played at Scout levels, so all different ways to play the game. So it's really been really cool to explore all of them.
Absolutely. And if we look at Game 6 now, the final game, will be at 3,000 points. The Thallax are going to be reinforced with a couple more vehicles and a ton more Thallax. You've got your Typhon.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a few of the bits.
And so basically it's a Typhon and 3 more veterans.
Okay, cool.
So that actually might have made a bit of a difference in that last turn, in that last combat, if there was more veterans there. So they'll go up to a squad of 10. But literally most of the points are being spent on the big Typhon.
Oof. And the scenario we've got in mind, we're not going to give too much away, but there's going to be a very large central objective, which the Sons of Horus have, all the work that they've been doing in the last 5 games have been all prepared for this final act, we'll call it, and then the Mechanicum are trying to come in and stop them. So there's a little bit of painting of scenery and some modelling to do, but we'll try and get that sorted out for you as fast as possible. I really hope you've enjoyed this series of games so far. It's been absolutely thrilling for Alistair and I. The motivation it's given us has been really cool.
No, it's been absolutely fantastic to be able to kind of get my Sons of Horus done.
Yes.
So having these deadlines has been great.
There's a couple of thank yous, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah. So first of all, I'd like to thank Keith Fazzi. He's built all of my vehicles. I don't enjoy building kind of big vehicles like that. I find it. I'm not very good at it. Is the honest thing. So he's absolutely fantastic. He's written quite a few inappropriate notes inside of several of my vehicles, so I'm sure we can flash them up or something. But he's been fantastic. And also Dan Porter, the kind of last couple of vehicles, so the last Rhino I did and the Typhon I'm working on. I've just started a Masters, so I've got a kind of bit of a premium on my time now. And so he very, very kindly has airbrushed my vehicles up to that Cabalite green.
So the base colours, then you had the bits
exactly,
on top.
Yeah. So no, it's been really, really. I couldn't have done it without those two.
Great stuff. Just finally, before we go, you can obviously follow the channel on Instagram. It's just at the 30k channel. And Alistair, where can we follow your progress?
I've got at Alistair McMillan, I think.
Great stuff.
Is mine. And also there's a tutorial about how I painted my Sons of Horus. There's quite a few people have asked me. There's a tutorial up there if you want to have a look.
Great stuff. All right, we will get ready for Game 6 in about a month or so's time, 6 weeks' time. Get that filmed, and then that will conclude the series. Photos are on Facebook when this game has been released, so please go there, check them out. You can also follow our progress. There is a hashtag, Tale of Two Gamers.
Tale of Two Gamers, yeah.
Yes, I'll pop it up on the bottom of the screen just to double check it.
Absolutely.
Give us a follow, and we will see you in the next game. Hello everybody. One of the questions I get asked all the time after building one of the boards for the channel is how do I clear up? Now you obviously know I use a lot of sand or aquarium aggregate, I guess you want to call it, and I use lots of finely smashed slate to go on the boards to build them up. So in most cases what I tend to do is I take all of the items off the board that I've built during the day. I usually have a bit of a soft brush of it and just brush them all off so they get nice and clean. No damage, just a bit of dust. Sometimes I dip them in water to get all of the fine dust off the sand. So we'll just literally pull all the gear off. Just knock all the sand out of it. get rid of all the big rocks, and then I either scoop most of it up with a dustpan and brush, or I've got a hoover, which is a wet hoover that can take water, and then I just suck it up with a hoover, and then I empty that out into the container that I store the sand in. You of course will get all of the slate that's inside the sand, and all I do is I spend an hour or so, or 20 minutes, how long it takes, outside, and I get I've got various grades of sieve which you can buy for your garden for sorting out rocks and stones in the garden and the soil, and I just sieve each one consecutively in order, and finally get down to the sand in one, the mid-sized particles in another, and then the larger stuff in another, and it just fills it down. And then when I build a board, I put all of the finer stuff down, or the big rocks first, sorry, the finer stuff, and then I dress the rest of the boards with all the different sized stones. So that's how I do it. And lots of people have asked me the question, but I think you agree it does work, and it does create a really, really different environment and board for people to game on, which you don't see very often, I don't think. I hope that's answered your question. Any more, please ping a message below, and I'll endeavour to answer as fast as I can. Thanks very much. Hello, and welcome to Game 5 of Harvest on the Black Sand between Alistair and I, Sons of Horus versus Mechanicum. You've obviously just watched the game. I really hope you enjoyed it. We've got one left to go after this. But as always, I'm going to do a board build video. I think this is the second outside 6x4 table we're using, if I remember rightly. So what I'm going to try and build today is like a facility, like a Promethean facility or a refueling station of some sort. We're done with all the psychers now, and now we're just on to open warfare between the Sons of Horus and Mechanicum. Now, today's a Sunday in September, and on the Saturday I filmed a night battle between Tom and, I'm desperately trying to remember the gent's name. Oh, I can't remember. And essentially, it was built on orange sand with orangey type style rocks. Whereas I'm going to try and duplicate the same board with black sand to continue the theme, but with black rocks. I don't quite have the same height and scale as the rocks I did for the previous board, but it'll give you a bit of a flavour. So I'm going to try and recreate that board. If you haven't seen the night battle, I strongly suggest you do. It was a really great game, but the table looked pretty good, and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. So you can go to Facebook page and have a look at those photos of that game, and then obviously if you want to subscribe, which will be fantastic, you can then watch the game, so that'd be really cool. Morgan, it was Tom and Morgan as the guys that I filmed yesterday. Cool. So I'm not going to talk very much on this one. I'm just going to get on with it. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to build up the height of the station, because it was quite tall, and it had a couple of silos on top. It gave us quite a bit of height. We needed height because there was a pour fire on. There was 17 knights on the board in total, so it was a bit of a smash fest. So we needed a bit of height to obscure line of sight. Not so much for Alistair and I's game, but it'd still be nice to get the drama of the height of that building and the large scale of the facility. So I'm going to try and recreate it. Hopefully it came out okay. You've obviously seen it, I haven't, but we'll see how we go. As you can see, I really struggled with that. There's a lot of fiddly bits. It's still a little bit shonky. I'm not 100% happy with it, but time is running away with me at the moment, so I've really got to get on. That's the main structure. There's going to be a couple little outline buildings maybe over in the foreground, but the rest of it is going to be relief. I'm going to use the rocks to create sort of a continuation along here and extend that rock out over there, and then we'll go on with the black sand, and then that will just merge everything in. I had to support this up because the height of these rocks plus the height of the stanchion there just wasn't enough, so it's a little bit higher. This is a little bit smaller than the one I built previously, but I just don't have the pile of rocks to make it taller. But don't worry about that too much. It's nearly there. I'm now just going to put a ton of rock down to create the relief of the battlefield. Right, I'm really happy with how the board's turned out. I've tried to align everything so it's at the same angle. I appreciate this is slightly off, but it would have been nice to have it all going at a nice 45 degree angle. I can't really move this now. I guess I could orientate that ever so slightly maybe, just to get the angles right, just so it looks like it looks proper. So I guess we've got you know, like a refinery here or a depot. Then you've got the workers would have lived and worked and lived in this area. A few crates. I think it'd be quite an interesting landscape for us to fight over. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to flood the entire area with the black sand to keep up the theme of the black sand, harvest on the black sand, and then we should be good. Whew, done. That was a long build. Really happy with where the board works. It's just a really interesting textured design, so I'm quite happy with it. I think this area is a little bit shonky. It could have been a bit better, as I mentioned, but and I really could have done with perhaps another bag or 2 bags of the aggregate. But hey, I'm really happy with it. Hopefully, it provided a great game. That's it. I really hope you've enjoyed this board build video. We've really got to come up with something spectacular for the 6th and final game between Alistair and I, but we'll see how we get on.